Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hello and a good morning at you. It's the 8th of August, 8/8/24. And gee whiz, less than 90 days, right? To beginning the long process of taking our country back. That's their slogan, isn't it? Whatever. Guys, did you see, by the way, the latest rant by the former president? He's really mentally unwell. I'm telling you something you don't know. I'm telling you, oh my God, the guy is freaking out. He was just assuming that he was going to win this, and we pulled the rug out from under him with Biden, and then not taking Shapiro, taking Walz, things that constantly doing things that they were not expecting us to do. And he's throwing tantrums left and right. And our guys are out stumping like gangbusters at a pace that there is no way that old creepy fart can keep up with. No way. So he's left, stewing at odd hours, writing these screeds out of the bile of his being and posting them on his truth social. Did you see the last one? Oh, I don't know if it's the last one. It's the last one I saw. And in it, he's engaging in this fantasy of Biden not really wanting to have stepped aside, which I think is true. Biden not wanting to step aside, but instead plotting, as would Donald, to make a triumphant sort of January 6th, though, storming of the Democratic convention in Chicago and taking back the delegates that Kamala stole from him. This is what Trump is now putting out. And let me read it to you, because it's actually his hope. Trump is all ego and id, I guess. And this is the id speaking. And I will, if you've ever read any of these things, he throws capital letters into strange places, and then he does all caps in certain places when he really just wants to scream. And for the all caps, I will not scream, but be louder, just so you get the visual sense of this absolutely unhinged thing he wrote. Here it is. What are the chances that crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the U.S., whose presidency was unconstitutionally stolen from him by Kamala, Barack Hussein Obama, crazy Nancy Pelosi, shifty Adam Schiff, crying Chuck Schumer, and others on the lunatic left? What is, I'm going to back up so you won't get lost in all that crapola. What are the odds that Biden crashes the Democratic National Convention and tries to take back the nomination, beginning with challenging me to another debate? He feels that he made a historically tragic mistake by handing over the presidency, a coup, to the people in the world he most hates. And he wants it back now. Okay, this is so unbelievable. He's saying, first of all, that Biden hates Kamala Harris. I mean, it's deranged. Okay, why am I wasting my time sharing this with you? I mean, it shows his desire, his yearning, which was quashed to run against Biden, who he knew he could beat. He can't bear it, so he's now engaged in these fantasies. Oh my God. Well, that should give you some solace. I was also reading more about the GOP's now attempts to sully Walz, because sully him they must. They don't have any other way of fighting other than denigrating the personhoods of those that oppose him, because they have no policies. So, man, they've come. And they're coming with the kind of, swiftboat techniques that they used successfully on John Kerrey. And as we know, John Kerry had a pretty stellar resume coming out of his service in the Vietnam War. And they took it and made him into somehow a liar. They've started right up already, and I'm sure you're aware of it. And it's unsettling, because these guys' tactics are always unsettling. What unsettles me about it is that the guy who led that successful effort against John Kerry, I hate to tell you, is the guy who is now essentially running the Trump campaign. His name is Chris LaCivita. I think that's how it's pronounced. Not sure where the syllable is accented, which syllable. Chris LaCivita. And it was he, way back then in 2004, 20 years ago, that he devised this strategy to cast doubt on the military exploits, the positives of Senator John Kerry. And I recall at the time us thinking, well, this is an outrage. This is, who would believe, this is so, and it worked. It worked. The love of disinformation and the constant repetition of that has only grown in Republican circles. And there is no doubt that that tactic and that swift boating is a major part of what derailed and doomed John Kerry's presidential bid. Now, going after Walz is harder to do. What they're what they're focusing on is, after his 24 years in service, and after he had decided that he wanted to run for Congress, he did retire. He retired from his, which I guess you're perfectly able to do. He retired, and they're now saying, look, right after he retired, his battalion was sent over to combat. In where? In Afghanistan? Who can remember all these messes we got ourselves into? I don't remember. Maybe Iraq. And this same lie was used. I mean, the timing is correct. He resigned, and then yes, the battalion he resigned from did end up being deployed, and they're making this look like he cut and ran, I guess would be more correct. But it doesn't hold up. And if you dig a little bit further, you find that there were people when he first ran for governor who were trying to come at him with this timeline. Strange how he decided to run. And then other people that he served with came forward. And one has come forward again and said, look, my politics and Tim's are absolutely not the same. I'm probably not going to be voting for him. But he was talking about running for Congress, which I thought was nuts, months and months and months and months before. And it had nothing to do with the deployment. So let us hope that this doesn't succeed as the swift boating of John Kerrey did. I'm sorry, I'm distracting myself here looking for something. The other charge against him is that he's engaged. These charges, by the way, are being leveled by Vance. Vance, who, the Marine, who touts his Marine service supposedly in combat. He was never in combat either. Neither of these vice presidential candidates ever saw combat. Vance was his job while he was in a theater of war was, and this is rich, was as a journalist. He was a military journalist in Iraq, far from the front lines. Walz was in the Army National Guard for 24 years, and he deployed in those decades to natural disasters in the United States. He served also in Europe in support of U.S. operations in Afghanistan. But boy, right-wing radio and Fox News are running with this idea that he cut and ran. Yeah, he did leave after 24 years of service, and he did run. He ran for Congress, which he'd been speaking of doing for a long, long time. But here it begins. Here it begins. Let me see what else I have here that I want to stay with. Vance and the swift boating thing, I find particularly rich. I really do. Since he himself, while strutting around like a Marine, again, never saw combat. And he's basing the stolen valor line on Walz's statement when he was talking about the necessity of some gun regulation, how weapons of war, and I believe he said something like weapons that I carry during war should not be on our streets. And that's the line, because he never was in an active war zone. So technically, he didn't carry a gun in war, and that's being called stolen valor. It's just the beginning. Yeah. So, hang on. I feel strangely discombobulated today, and I beg your forgiveness. Um, One other thing that I want to point out, because it is so so important, the fact that the thing I love most about Walz is that he was a teacher, and clearly a wonderful teacher, totally there for his students, involved. He wasn't there because he was making a lot of money. In fact, being a school teacher, it runs in the family. I guess his siblings are mostly teachers. His mom, I guess, was a teacher. I mean, they're just teachers. That's what they do. And there's a lot to learn from that kind of familial sense of responsibility to something bigger. It is a kind, without a doubt, of public service. You know how we're always thanking soldiers, thank you for your service. Well, for teachers, it is the same, especially for the really good ones, the ones who change children's lives. And I suspect he was that kind of a teacher. Um, but you look at what is important to him in terms of public education, and then you look at what Vance and Trump and the 2025ers are intent on doing to public education. In a abbreviated way of putting what their intention is to destroy it. And someone put together some of what is in, for instance, that blueprint that Trump is desperately trying to back away from, the 2025 project, which consists of all his biggest supporters in high positions put it together. Okay. Vance wrote the foreword to the Heritage Foundation's book. More on that later, by the way. But if you look at what these guys intend to do with public education, it is mind blowing. See, here again, I can't find the damn thing I'm looking for. It was a ticking off of all of it. Damn it. Okay, I'm going elsewhere. I am trying to remember what the hell my muddled brain was thinking. One never knows. Here it is. I got it. I got it. Here it is. Project 2025. And in the chapter called Advancing Education Freedom, here's some of the stuff that the Republicans are proposing. Some of them we know. Disband the Department of Education, which is, of course, the federal agency mandated with ensuring equal, they hate that kind of thing, equal educational access. They intend to get rid of Title I funding. And you know what that horrible program is? It helps children from low-income families. Oh, the horror! They lay this out unapologetically. They want to give money directly to families in the form of vouchers, which would be used for private education. They want to, and this is just mind-blowing, eliminate one of the most successful early childhood programs ever, Head Start. They want to eliminate Head Start, which provides early childhood education to poor children, especially in rural areas where their base resides. They intend to scale back the federal school meals program because a hungry child is the kind of child that they think learns best. They want to abolish the program, the Parent Plus loan program, which helps low-income families pay for college. They want to roll back regulations that protect students from discrimination based on gender and sexual orientation. And they intend to prosecute schools that maintain affirmative action programs. Now, the fact that all of this stuff they're going after helps students, helps poorer families. This is why, as much as voters know, and they helpfully put it down in writing, know what their intentions are, these guys are dead men walking. And you contrast that Vance is peddling and happy with, to what Walz, the social studies teacher, and then when he became governor. In the time he was governor, he increased spending in K through 12 schools in Minnesota by $400 per student. You probably heard he provided free breakfast and lunch to every public student in the state. And that's the wonderful thing that Jake Tapper has said. Well, doesn't that make you a little, really, that's going a little overboard. He says, yeah, what a monster. Kids eating full belly so they can learn. If that's what they want to label me, I'm more than happy to take the label. He created something called the North Star Promise Program, which covers college tuition for students from families making less than $80,000 a year. Covers college tuition. He boosted wages for early child care providers. He funded unemployment for hourly school employees during the summer break. He extended the pandemic-era child tax credit when the federal mandate ended. My God, here is a man who actually believes in using the power of government, the power and the money from our tax dollars to come back to us and raise people up. The horror of it, the contrast of it. Wow. Just wow. Milton writes regarding the swift boating. The swift boat strategy doesn't work. when the top of the opposing ticket, that'd be, I guess, Donald Trump, is a 5-time draft dodger. Additionally, Walz refused a medical discharge 3 years prior to retiring from the Army. Huh, that I didn't know. Yeah, I mean, these ain't gonna stick. The problem is, again, disinformation and what people hear. But again, as we know, there are certain people who hear only what they want to hear, listen to sources that only tell them what they want to know. And those people are unreachable. They're just unreachable. So all the audience for all of this is obviously slim, powerful people because their votes, especially if they live in one of the battleground states. What a mucked up system we've got. I mean, I'm just thinking of that. So if you live in California, if you live in New York, if you live in most states that are not battleground states, it's just an assumption that your vote really doesn't make much of a difference. That's not how democracy should work. So our founding fathers, while they did some good stuff, the only way they could cobble together that compromise that became our Constitution was to, give away aspects of democracy that we struggle with still. The Electoral College being number one. Okay. Oh, wait. I got emails coming in. I'm sorry, guys. Got a lot of. Why am I so discombobulated? Damn it. Okay, Milton sent me another. Here is the contrast of the service of. I can't see this. How do I make it bigger? Vance and Walz. Walz served as a command sergeant major, Vance as a correspondent. Vance served 4 years, Walz 24 years. He attained the highest rank of E9, highest available in the Army for an enlisted man, and Vance E4. And Walz got a ton of awards. They're listed in fine print, and my eyes are not capable. And there's no such long list for J.D. Vance. So I guess, yeah, bring it on. Bring it on. Honest Pete. Okay. Hang on. Difficulties. Why am I? There we go. Little Tony writes, so Trump has a press conference at 2? Wow, wonder what that's about. Maybe he'll totally lose it on camera. Did you see that crowd at the airport hangar? Wow, I bet seeing that makes Trump lose it big time. In other news, the Trump campaign going after Walz's military career is low. Over 20 years of service, give me a break. But it's what we can expect from Mr. Bone Spurs and company. Gotcha. I mean, I'm trouble reading, which is one of my forts, not fortes. Chuck, Lynn, to me, this is such a clear choice. I find it so hard to believe that the polls are showing tell us, a dead heat in the battleground states. I know. That's the part that keeps me up at night. That's the part that will make me queasy and terrified because it says something about the people with whom we live in this country. You know, I was a lot of people we interact with are on the other side. I just found out that my dentist and all the people in that office are Trumpers. They're nice people. They're regular people. They love their children. If politics were not in the mix, you wouldn't. But even knowing that, so how many other people that we interact with happily and cordially, if the subject of politics were to come up, we'd be at each other's throats. Ugh. Chuck writes, I mean, to me, this is a choice between heaven and hell. This is a choice between the intentions of the founding fathers or a Putin-like America. Do the other 50% of the country, I don't think it's 50, I think it's 40. Do the other 50% of the country really know what they are supporting? I don't think they do, because Fox is their source of information. Ask the citizens of Florida if they like what DeSantis has done to their state. It's just unimaginable. I know we can't figure it. And, you know, and lest we kid ourselves, they look at us with the same kind of fear. And I think in large part it is obviously the cultural issues that get them riled. I think a lot of the gender stuff, right? And it's hard when what you always thought of as truth starts wobbling under you. And it's hard. I have, over the last 35, 40 years, you've heard me wrestle with issues that I now have no problem with. If you could go back and hear me, I was initially only for civil union for gays because I felt that marriage was the kind of thing that would set off, well, like a Republican resurgence. I was one of the people always saying, slow down, let people get used to this or they're going to freak out. Now, I mean, we can argue that till we're blue. I'm thrilled that there's gay marriage. I have so many gay married friends, and they don't hold it against me as far as I can tell. That it took me a while. I'm still flummoxed by some of the gender stuff. I admit it. If you spend all your life being told one thing, that it's black or it's white, it's male or it's female, it can be very difficult for people, even good people, well-intentioned people, to change on a dime. And it is unrealistic to assume they can. Also, when you have major religion working against the change, it becomes big. I mean, clearly, there are people in this country who still can't get over the fact that black people are considered equals of white people. Yeah, lots of them, I think. Amazing. Takes a long time. Doesn't mean you shouldn't push forward, but there are backlashes. And every time we move forward, we get these huge backlashes. And I think this backlash, the MAGA backlash, has a stench of such desperation to it, as if it's sort of like their last stand. Don't believe that. But there is this desperation. And like I said yesterday about Trump, he's dangerous on a good day, but cornered and terrified, he's truly dangerous. He would take everything down to save himself. And he feeds that into his base in apocalyptic terms. And so they are truly afraid. And I don't I don't know what we can do about that. I told you the other day there's this group psychological professionals for Kamala. Maybe we should have sort of like the Peace Corps, have like therapists for MAGA. Have people willing to go out amongst the Fox set and deal with whatever these issues are. I've also told you, and I will rail about it just for a second, that the smug elitism of our side at times, the sense that we, of course, are better, is unhelpful, to say the least. And it's not a good look. I hate the virtue signaling crap. It's easy to put a sign up in your yard. I would say eschew, God bless you, the signs, and do the job, do the work. And again, lots of my friends have signs. Ultimately, that's not action. Oh, and speaking of signs, are you seeing, because I am in my neighborhood, just wonderful homemade Kamala signs? Put on, people are doing their own Kamala signs, or they're rejiggering the Biden Kamala signs. And it's fun to see that sort of, again, just sort of like, grass, literally sticking in their lawns, grassroots enthusiasm. It's good to see. David writes, Lynn, I've told you before. Now, when I was young, I was an enthusiastic attendant at a local Bible study until the woman running it said that George Harrison, yes, that George Harrison, that would be the Beatle, was going to hell because he wasn't a Christian. And I instantly thought, fuck this, and walked out. Never went back, never looked back. That was 50 years ago tonight. How do you know that? I don't know any. 50 years ago tonight. You walked out of your Bible study class on August 8th? 50 years ago? Oh, here's how you know. See, I should just keep reading and not reacting. That was 50 years ago tonight, because when I got home, Nixon was on the television announcing he was resigning the next day. So happy anniversary to my moment of clarity. And that's from Dave in Washington. Dave, thank you, as always. Yeah, statements like that, I know. Yeah, religion causes an awful lot of trouble with its absolutes. Yeah. And the good things that it teaches, like, be kind to one another, love thy neighbor, gets swallowed up in the more, scary stuff. Because as we've noted so many times, those negative emotions sell. They're the ones that stick. So so many religions terrorize people into being good, which to me is very sad. To do good only because you're afraid of punishment is not the way it should be. I don't understand. It's such a bleak view of human nature. But I must admit that since Donald Trump came on the scene, my view of human nature has gotten a lot bleaker as well. Hey, if you're watching the Olympics at all, and I am off and on, I want to say that I don't know if this has been covered on ours, because it's not the kind of thing they probably like to cover, since the Olympics too are all about peace and love and all these countries competing and being nice to each other. But did you where did I see it? Hang on, I don't know where I put anything. Oh yeah. So apparently there have been a number of incidents at certain events of real sore losers. Now, sore losing is a thing, and it's actually the thing that has motivated the MAGA movement, right? With Trump and they refusing to acknowledge they lost. So, because they are sore losers, they staged a coup attempt, and now they're busy beavering their way to attempting to rig the next election, or at least throw it into enough chaos that their guy wins. But here's some things that happened at the Olympics that I didn't know, and it's all in the judo venue. Now, judo, am I wrong in thinking that judo is religious? I mean, is that Buddhism? Judo? I don't know. But I thought it was like one of these very sort of respectful kinds of sports where, like you bow to each other before all hell breaks loose, right? That's what I thought. And especially at the Olympic level. But here's what I read today. Last week, the Japanese star Ryuju Nagayama refused to shake his opponent's hand after he lost. And then Uda Abe, the defending women's gold medalist, shrieked on the sidelines for several minutes after losing in the second round. But most egregious of all, the Georgian judo contestant, Guram Tushishvili, reacted to defeat by kicking his opponent, France's Teddy Riner, in the crotch and then pushing his head into the mat, pushing his opponent. He kicked him in the crotch. I guess then when he collapsed, he pushed his head into the mat, and he got disqualified. Yeah. Dear God. Rust Belt Expeditions writes, I left the church soon after that and have never looked back. Well, as we know, churches are losing membership. I did read something that there are evangelicals. They're not the majority. There are evangelicals that are pushing back against the usurpation of their religion by MAGA and the outrageous distortion of any Christian teachings. And there are ministers that are evangelical ministers that are on the move, preaching, trying to talk sense to some people. I guess if they can get in the doors of any of these churches that have lost their way, and they ain't voting Trump. They're voting Harris. I mean, if you look at all these groups, so and so is for Harris, so and so for Harris, Republicans voting Harris. I was talking to somebody the other day, and he insisted that a pretty well-known former candidate for statewide office, conservative Republican, he told me that she ain't going to say it, but she ain't voting for Trump. Now, I suspect there are a lot of people who don't have the courage to stand up and say, I'm not voting for him, but who will, get that courage in the privacy of a voting booth, because who knows, and won't vote for him. We can only hope. By the way, did you see Simone Biles, according to Sports Illustrated, is giving $1 million for each of her 4 medals, so that's $4 million to Harris Walz. Yay! I mean, if she's giving that big a thing, she's giving it to a PAC, but she's giving it, and she has, because black jobs like the one she has, they pay well. She's got quite a pile of money there, having a black job. Robert Reich has been having a bit of a contest about who's the second worst person in American public life, and I'm totally with who I guess won out in his mind, and that would be Elon Musk, because it's not just terrible, but terrible with the potential of doing terrible damage, and not just to us, but to the world. Let me just get Laura's remark in here. I have said for years, religion is man-made, and man is far from perfect. It is a matter of opinion and basically wishful thinking of a better life. That said, I choose to believe, and I have faith. I think that's a beautiful way of saying it, Laura. I really do. There's no doubt religion has done amazing things as well, certainly. I mean, when practiced as preached, it's a wonderful force, extraordinarily positive force. But, oh, how it can be distorted. So some of the best people I know are people of faith. Yeah. And God knows they ain't voting for Trump. But all these, things of Republicans for Kamala. I mean, it's huge and getting bigger bigger by the minute. And again, those are the ones who are willing to stand up and speak out. And there's got to be a whole lot more who don't have that level of courage or ability for whatever reason, whether it is to keep peace in their family, who the hell knows, whether it's to keep their neighbor from firebombing their house. I don't know, that they are unwilling to tell a pollster or anyone else that they ain't voting for Trump. Now, Ansel has a good point here, but this doesn't. What Ansel says uh, does not apply to my neighborhood. Okay, so if you're in a real blue neighborhood, putting up a sign saying "Hate has no place here," you know, I'm just saying. But Ansel says, first, it's not so easy to put a sign up in your neighborhood if your neighbors don't share your politics. That is true. And he says, I know. And it's also too easy to send Harris some money, which is a step in the right direction, but also this isn't really doing the work. But if you go to the Harris website, preach it, Ansel. If you go to the Harris website, please sign up for volunteering. There are a number of tasks there that don't even require you to leave your house, but are nonetheless important. Please do the work. And Ansel is talking to an audience mostly in Pennsylvania. And if there is any state where we need to do the work, and exactly, that is not putting a sign up, that is not writing a check, those things are fine, but it's doing more than you've ever done. Okay? And I see people in my circle stepping up and getting together and organizing and saying, what can we do? And if you're uncomfortable doing something, you find somebody who will do it with you. And what Ansel pointed out, which is so wonderful, is you can do it from your home, some of it. You can do a lot of stuff from your home. A friend of mine texted me last night that she just got done with her inaugural session of a job she took on, which is, I'm a little confused. It's not phone banking, but it's when someone doing phone banking gets a question from somebody that they aren't sure of the answer. And then my friend signed on to give them the answer. Now, how the hell she knows the answers, I don't know, but she's extremely bright and resourceful. And so it's that kind of thing. Hey, Milton, would you be good at that or not? I forget what it's called, that position, but she told me she had her first, she did 90 minutes, and she says, what a wild ride that was. So I haven't gotten the details, haven't heard, but I intend to. Beth writes, when you said Biles was donating $4 million to Harris Walz, it gave me chills. This young woman is so mentally and physically strong, and I am sure by doing this we'll lose endorsement money. Don't forget, she was also part of the lawsuit against USA Gymnastics and the Larry Nassar abuse. She was one of his many victims, and makes me so proud that she is donating so much money to put down another abuser in Trump. Yeah. Well, do you really think it'll cost her endorsements? I mean, well, maybe. But there'll be plenty more standing in line. I mean, she can have, I can't imagine the money she's going to be raking in with endorsements. I mean, again, when you're the greatest of all time and you have that extraordinary winning smile, and geez, the sky's the limit. Hey, by the way, I saw her husband, who's a football player and nowhere near in her league in terms of excelling even at his sport, even though he is a professional football player. We were also excited in Green Bay when the Packers took him out of Texas, and because she showed up in Green Bay a few times at the games, and now, damn it, the Packers must have dealt him to the Bears because he's with the Bears now. Just saying. And when I saw him at the when the team stuff was going on, he was in the stands with their parents. I was thinking, don't you have to be at training camp? They must have given him a dispensation, I suspect. Guys, I'm like almost embarrassed. I I'm a little sheepish, I think would be the word, to tell you that I'm not going to be here Monday. I got a good reason. I got a good reason. And as far as I know, that's the last time I'm taking any time off until we get this thing done. But I can't be here Monday because Sunday is my mom's 102nd birthday. And damn, I got to be there. And if any of you have attempted ever to fly to Green Bay, Wisconsin, it's hard. I mean, it's you go this way, then you go that way, and if you're lucky, the planes go or don't, and it costs more than a flight to Paris. So the only way I can do it is by coming back to Pittsburgh Monday morning after the raucous celebration the night before. And I won't be back in time, obviously, to do the show. So, no show on Monday, but the first show of the week will be Tuesday with Susan, I guess, and then we'll be good to go, as I said, for the duration. I cannot wait. Did you hear, by the way, about did I already tell you this? Because it's such a funny story. Did you hear about the robot that committed suicide? I think it was, what was it, in China? Korea? Some robot that had specific jobs to do got so unhappy. It went around, it started acting erratically, started going around in circles, and then threw itself out the window or something, or down a flight of stairs, or I can't remember exactly. But it was determined to be the first acknowledged robot suicide, which I refuse to be sad about because I refuse ever to treat any of these things as humans in any way or having feelings in any way. It's why I won't say, "Hey Siri, do this for me. Hey Alexa, do that for me." I won't call them by names like that. It creeps me out. Fuck them. And with those words, I leave you for a long weekend. God only knows what will happen in the interim. But be back. I'll see you August 13th. I'll be back next Tuesday. Thank you so much for being here with me, and be well. And get to work.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.